Hello, and welcome to the wrap-up of the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer. I am your host, Meggie.
And I'm also your host. My name is Laura.
And if you didn't know already, this is Yeah, We Read It, the podcast where we talk about young adult books and we kind of lose our minds.
Yeah. Do we lose our minds or do we grow?
It's wild. Do you ever think about going back and listening to the episodes that we did in 2020? Like, where were we there? You know?
Yeah. I feel like I've done that before. I've just been like, let me do it, but I haven't done it recently. I should. It's like a diary, you know?
Yeah, and if you guys want to like email us, tell us maybe where we were at, you could hit us with that.
Yeah, if
Go
somebody
back.
could send me the spark notes of our podcast, that would be great.
Hey, I mean, a little bit off topic, but The Uglies is coming out September 13th, literally in a month on Netflix, and we did cover that if someone wants to go back and listen to it.
Wow. We really were ahead of our time.
We
Think
were.
about that.
But
Think about
today
that.
is not The Uglies, I guess, whatever. I just am yapping.
Just
Bro
yapping.
ordered a yappuccino.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Get another hole punch in your coffee card.
Thank you. No. Today is our Twilight wrap-up, and boy, what a ride it's been.
This book series was so long for how few books there were in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Vampire Diaries will never not be the longest series we've ever read because it was so many books and that was categorically long as fuck. But the fact that these 4 books were just so long, I can't get over the fact that not much really happens in the Twilight world, you know?
Yeah, that is true. It is pretty crazy because I was telling Laura this. I did watch, if you guys know who ContraPoints is, she is a trans, she kind of dissects pop culture on YouTube, but she talked about the Twilight series and the history of romance. And the thing with the plot in Twilight, not a lot happens. There's action scenes. I think we've been conditioned to be like, action has to drive a plot forward. And despite not much actually happening in terms of action, I do think that this has a pretty strong plot in, they're just kind of in the hallway talking to each other at school a lot. But it does build in a way that I think makes this a really strong romance book, because it kind of has a little bit of the remnants of erotica. You don't see the sex scenes, which really sucks, but I'm sorry, this reads like one of Stephanie Meyer's sex dreams.
Did you see on the screen of our video? You made a thumbs up and it did the thumbs up thing. That's so funny. I disagree, actually. I really don't think this feels like a romance book. I feel like romance books are a lot about, especially if we're not going down the there's explicit sex scenes in it. I feel like we have to have those lingering moments of understanding the eternal yearning or those feelings of just wanting to be near someone, kind of described to us in a way of prose. I feel like that's when I think of any form of even mild romance. There you have to be able to feel the chemistry and the actual wanting between these two people. And I don't think we really get that.
Yeah.
I feel like we get told that that's happening, but we don't really I never felt like Bella and Edward really loved each other. I felt like they just really were attracted to each other, and then kind of did the high school thing of well, I fell in love once and I never have to do it again. This person's my entire world. So that's where I disagree.
That's interesting. So you don't think, obviously I can see an argument for lust over love. I think there's a lot of obsession, a lot of, they are always living kind of in limerence where he has to put aside his lust for her blood in choosing kind of the obsession of her.
Not enough. I feel like we never even get it's that hard for him, you know? That's where I think I'm missing a lot of a kind of impact here. There's not really any inaction or even action. It's almost like they just kind of keep hanging out, you know?
That is true. If she had incorporated a little bit of Midnight Sun, which is, as we know, Twilight from Edward's point of view.
Yeah.
If we got a little bit outside of, there's only one moment of tension, and it is obviously when she sits down next to him in biology. His eyes are black. He gets the wind rushing over of her scent of her blood, and he kind of storms out. We'd never really switch over to his point of view, and I can see why we don't get like containing himself, and we don't get the drive of his emotions from his side.
Yeah. Well, and we don't even get him explaining that to us. He's just like, you know, he just kind of doesn't really talk about his feelings other than that he like never wants to hurt Bella. And it's like, that's not enough, you know? I would love to have like seen action that showed that Edward truly had trouble containing himself and was truly questioning the relationship because he was afraid of hurting her, not just because like, you know, again, it goes back to my theory on inaction, that I feel like to be a true romance novel, this book needed to do more, whether that be longer before they actually start dating, whether that be the Cullens don't actually like that he's dating a human, whether that be he breaks up with her while they still go to the same school, whether that be she breaks up with him because she's like, this shouldn't be a thing. I feel like if we wanted this kind of star-crossed lovers vibe, we really needed to go for it, but we didn't get enough consequence of the reality of the situation, other than that, like, the Volturi are mad, but they're gonna deal with it later, which I was like, that's not enough.
Okay, so I think that I'm getting where you were unsatisfied. You wanted internal conflict.
I wanted any conflict.
Instead of external conflict.
I wanted any conflict, because there wasn't internal or external conflict. That's what I think my issue.
Okay, I kind of disagree, because I think the external conflict was obviously like James, all the people that were coming into it, and I mean obviously the internal conflict is maybe where we're lacking and not seeing Edward. I think it's a strong romance, and it does make sense to me why this sold specifically, because I think it does take, obviously, like, hey, you guys probably don't know the Brotherhood, the Dagger Brotherhood. That was a vampire super explicitly horny series that I was obsessed with growing up. But then there's also like reminiscent of like the Bodice Rippers. Like we have Fabio on the romance cover, and he is literally like ripping someone's bodice. We get undertones of that, and I think Stephenie Meyer really prides herself on being like, this book is all about innocence. But tell me why I was edging the whole time I was reading it. I was so horny for it then and now.
And I really feel like if we're gonna like lean even into the innocence route, we really need to focus on the loss of Bella's innocence throughout this story. But again, we don't really get any impact from or consequences. There's nothing that happens when Bella turns into the vampire other than like things are cool, you know?
Yeah, I think that if she had had a bit more loss, like the scene with Charlie, I think that if that was like built up, then you would really feel the things that she was leaving behind in her humanhood, and you would be pretty sad about it.
I mean, I could really go on and on, I think, about the things that I think we should have developed more to, I think, make this series a little bit stronger when it comes to how it was written.
What is your main one that you think could have been developed more?
There's not a main point, but what I'm going to say here is that I really think to even get into this loss of innocence and also establish Bella as a protagonist that has like free will and thought rather than this girl that just kind of asks questions all the time, is I needed Bella to really question if turning into a vampire was a good decision. We don't get that. She's just immediately all in. And for books, she's like, yep, we're good. We get a little bit faltering for a page. And then she's like, just kidding, I'm fine. And so like, even if we go down this loss of innocence route, it's like she doesn't even care really about what she turns into or who she becomes, as long as it's with this person, which again, that's more of a lust route. But again, a lot of this book just didn't land for me because I don't think we fleshed out any of the directions we went to. I think we were just kind of in a lukewarm space the entire time. Yeah. And, you know, even when it comes to like our external plots with like James and the other vampires, like, we don't get a lot of that either. We spent, all of Eclipse leading up to a fight that lasted a page and a half.
Yeah.
So I think I really wish Stephenie Meyer would have chosen what she wanted to do. If it was more of a spoken kind of romance, then we needed vows at the wedding. If it was more of an external romance where things are happening, Bella should have been kidnapped by the Volturi or something. Like, I think we just needed more on either side.
Oh, okay. See, I think that it, for me, is like a good romance because it took a little bit of like the threat of danger and it married the ideas, and this is probably why too I kind of imagine it did well. And I
Yeah.
also was curious to ask you if you think that this is a reason why it's coming back now, because obviously there's the erotic. I talked about it is sexual even though it's not sexual, but there's also the innocent factor of like there's a lot of genres of romance novels, the erotica, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's romance where the woman kind of maintains the Madonna horror complex a little bit, where
Mm-hmm.
she's like a good girl until whatever the barrier is removed and she becomes a bad girl. And I've been wondering if this series is coming back in popularity because Gen Z has been quoted for wanting like more sexless liter like media literary, and this is perfect in being sexless but sexy enough.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, I don't disregard this as like something that teenage girls would like. This is a very teenage girl led book. It's about a girl who has two very hot guys fighting over her. I get why that was
Mhm.
popular. I could see the argument for this being like because it is sexless kind of literature and deals with, fantasy elements and has romance in it, that is kind of a reason to resurgence and let it live on. And I think the thing, like, I'm pretty gung ho on most things, but I feel like that again, this book series just missed a lot of elements
Mm.
for me to really have fun. I felt like through most of these books, I wasn't having a great time reading them because I felt like they were just kind of drawing on and on and on. And even the dialogue wasn't interesting enough to like carry the story forward. So again, I could go on and on about the problems I
I
have with this book
know.
series as a whole.
I love this book series, but I will say for the dialogue, they start at 100 and it is hard to match that tone when you start with I love you and I want to spend
I mean,
eternity with you.
I think just like get a thesaurus, right click on word and say thesaurus. What's another word for this? Because it's like it felt like we kept getting the same proclamations over and over again, and I was like, let's do one other thing. But I'd just be like, I love you forever for eternity. And that was kind of the gist of it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I completely get that. I mean, it definitely hits like one note, and I think that
Yeah.
that comes from
I just
Stephanie.
wanted depth. I wanted layers. I wanted
Yeah.
more notes. Give
Well,
me a B sharp.
did you know she wrote the first Twilight in 3 months?
I could see that.
Yeah.
I
Um,
mean,
she wrote it in 3 months. She had it. So the Twilight came to her in a dream. She had a
isn't
dream.
it a fan fiction too, or am I thinking of just 50 Shades of Grey?
No, 50 Shades of Grey, which I can also get into because I watched all 3 movies last night because I was
Yeah,
fired. So I said, you know what? I'm going to watch the sexy version of Twilight.
yeah.
Listen, it is like, it's so Twilight. I could see every single piece that was, which also brings up an interesting point that I think that, yeah, Bella Swan kind of sucks in hindsight, or like she's
hmm
boring, she's one dimensional, but she had a huge impact in the sense that this franchise brought out another $1 million franchise in 50 Shades of Grey. And I'll see like literally I saw a TikTok of a girl pretending to do the awkward like Bella Swan thing at like her quinceanera, and it was like a home video. And I do think kind of the antithesis to we have Katniss, who is very strong, empowered feminist.
Yeah.
Bella presented not now what we want to be, but like an innocent kind of a woman who attracts the attention of men without having to not degrade herself, because it's not slut shaming, I can't think, but like degrade.
She's a manic pixie dream girl.
She doesn't have to degrade herself in society's standards of like putting herself out there, which that's not our language, that's society. But like I get
Well,
why she was so popular is because she attracted attention without
well,
negotiating her
Well,
boundaries.
and that's a lot of I think protagonists in the YA world that are in this kind of, more modern lifestyle rather than dystopian war chick girls.
Yeah.
Because they're these girls that they're not like the other girls, and they're pretty but not pretty like the other girls, so they're just so attractive. And that's really what Bella is she's this new girl in town, and people like her because she's really pretty. And she's not like particularly nice, and she's not particularly friendly, but everybody's obsessed with her because she's new and she's pretty.
You're right. When are we going to get justice for ugly sluts?
I mean, give me an ugly girl who falls in love with someone. Damn.
We need an ugly slut redemption arc hero story.
I want a fugly whore to find her Prince Charming. What's so wrong about that? But like, that's the thing where it's like, again, this goes back to depth. Like, Bella is not a three-dimensional character, no matter which way you spin it, because she doesn't really have any wants other than Edward. So before that, she would have had zero wants other than not wanting to be in Forks, Washington, which doesn't count.
She went from not wanting to be in Forks to having a want to wanting to be vampire.
Yeah.
For really...
Yeah.
You know, like, she didn't... Okay, the thing with wanting to be a vampire, it seems like it's because she wants to spend her life with Edward forever. But then that is completely negated by the not wanting to get married, because that implicitly is spending your life forever.
Exactly, and that also pissed me off.
She should have wanted to be a vampire, because if she was like a little bit power hungry and driven, and then that's revealed in like the third act, that would be kind of fun.
Like, or imagine if like Bella was so afraid of death that she started to cling to this idea of like becoming a vampire and what that could do. Like, give me some really good reason. Like, she wants to become a vampire because it's about power, it's about control. She fears death and she wants to see if there's another way to live her life. Or maybe she doesn't want to become a vampire because she fears the unknown. She fears forever. She doesn't want to get married. Again, I go back. I digress on things I'll say over and over.
I would say that all of Bella's meandering in her human identity, if it had been totally flipped and she actually was a newborn that was out of control as a vampire, and we had the transformation a little bit earlier, that would have been a very interesting flip to see what her actual motives were.
Yeah. No, what I would have liked, and I think I might have said this, I would have loved that in book 2 is the one where they go to the Volturi, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So I would have loved in book 1, Edward wants her to become a vampire. And she's like, no, we're not. We're like, that's a lot of decisions. She doesn't want to become a vampire, but she still wants to see how things go with Edward. He breaks up with her. Something happens. She winds up at the Volturi, and they force her to become a vampire because she knows their secret. And against her will, she has to become this thing that she's been kind of afraid of the entire first 2 books. That would have been a completely different story to me, and I think would have given like a lot more of something to root for, because you're like, now you feel so on Bella's side, who's now a victim in this situation, is going to take charge of it. That would have been awesome.
I also think that it would have been way more in line with the Twilight plot, because
yes,
during the entire book, Edward serves as a father figure. Like, it's clear Edward, she has daddy issues with like Charlie. He's kind of stepping in as someone who is like a provider, which in a lot of like how society has been built for heterosexual relationships, it's like there's the masculine, the feminine. One is considered weak, one is strong. That's what you're drawn to. And if she was like a newborn who was out of control, that would have furthered that narrative.
Exactly. Like, it would have been so fun to watch from like Bella turn from this innocent girl to this kind of like villain to a martyr, almost, to kind of taking in control. Because we don't really get any sort of development for Bella as a character this entire time, which I think was something that was categorically missing from this series. Is like, when you even look at the Vampire Diaries, Elena was a horrible character at the start, and then we loved her by the end because she like had opinions, you know?
She really did. She was a strong feminist woman. So
at the end, not in the beginning.
I have a question then. If it is about us hypothetically discussing Bella turning earlier, for me, the pacing fell off in Eclipse. Do you think if it had ended New Moon, she was forced by the Volturi to become a vampire, would that have done it for you? Or like, where did the pacing lose you with Twilight?
The pacing is very bad in the first book for me.
Oh my God, so I love the first book.
Unfortunately, the pacing's always been an issue in my opinion. Like, I think even in my like book report I wrote in the 8th grade when I first read the first Twilight book, I was like, this just doesn't really like flow as a book. Like, we kind of just like we're lingering in too many spots, and we're not spending enough time in others. And it kind of just felt like, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then we're going to talk for a long time, and then this happens, and then we're going to talk for a long time, and I'm going to talk to this person, and then I'm going to talk to this person, and then I'm going to talk to this person. And so I think I personally have this entire
You say no more
series, talking. No more talking.
Too much.
Only kisses. Only kisses. I just personally, this entire book series is a pacing nightmare. It's a pacing nightmare.
That is true.
And I will go on record in saying that it is a pacing nightmare. Thank you.
It would have been wonderful, too, to interweave Jacob a little bit earlier as competition.
It's so weird to me that, like, Jacob, like, kind of was brought in as competition, and then, like, he wasn't, and then he was also a protagonist in the fourth book. That also did not make sense to me, or did not hit, you know?
Because I was like, for a bit, okay, I kind of see where we're cooking with Team Jacob. And then by the end of it, I was like, should we do a field study on the women who were Team Jacob? Because it's just, he wasn't even a consideration.
No, yeah, and it's weird to say, like, Jacob has pretty much the only arc in the entire series, but it's pretty much just out of driving a plot forward. So that's kind of a bummer, because, like, Jacob's really cool when you meet him. He's fun, he's kooky, he's troubled that he's becoming a werewolf. And then, like, his new thing is, like, and then he's, like, weirdly obsessed with Bella, and then his next thing is being obsessed with a child. So it kind of becomes, he's not fun, and, like, after, like, the second book, which is kind of lame, you know? We kind of lose the core of Jacob.
My close personal friend ContraPoints, the 3-hour video I watched yesterday, does bring up that she thinks that Jacob ends up with Renesmee in the end as, like, Stephenie Meyer having her cake and eating it too, because that way he still kind of gets to be with Bella in the end, you know?
I mean, I think Stephenie Meyer really was trying to do a lot of things with this. But yeah, I think that's such a good way of putting it. It very much reads as Stephenie Meyer still didn't want to have Bella deal with her consequences, you know? Bella gets to have it all. She gets to have her best friend and her boyfriend and her kid, and she gets to live happily ever after. And it's like, if we want to do that, make this more of a fairy tale, you know?
Yeah, if it was like an earned happy ending.
Yeah,
but we then need it was just that turmoil of her as a newborn. I gotta see it.
Or just give Bella a sister or something. I don't think even which way you spin it, the imprinting thing is always going to be an issue for me, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some psychology behind it. I mean, it's always going to be problematic.
So what's psychology behind grooming, Meggie?
I don't know. Listen, I don't know. You can ask my religion teacher. I'm sure he'd love to talk about it.
Yikes. Yeah, he'd be like, it's actually in the Bible.
It's actually, yeah, exactly. They were marrying.
How much do you want to bet Stephenie Meyer was like, people in the Bible would marry children all the time as adults?
Oh my God, I'm sure. I know. I wonder what she kind of thought about how that was taken, and if there was any defense that she had, or if she was just like, yeah, it came to me in a dream. I don't know. You know how Jesus sometimes gives divine intervention?
Yeah.
That was mine.
What if she deflects and she's like, Stephen King wrote an orgy scene for children at the end of it. I'm fine.
That's so funny. Yeah, I read that entire book just to find it out of like pure curiosity. And then it actually did become, I think, my favorite Stephen King book. It was pretty haunting. But then I just have one sticky note in for the page where that starts, just in case any of my friends are like curious. I'm like, listen, it's not fun.
I was going to say, did you feel like it added to the ending, or did it feel out of place and weird?
Sometimes I do bits that I don't really think through, as is evident from me getting fired over a bit, I guess, again.
Yeah.
But no, it definitely didn't add to that. We're going to go on an
So we're going hard subtraction from the ending.
I mean, I think kids could lose their innocence in different ways. Maybe just make them like cut themselves.
Yeah, or make them turn into vampires or something.
They just have depression. It's like, oh, and now we're adults.
Yeah. That's like a very, I guess, explicit way to talk about loss of innocence. So yeah, Stephen King, you do you, I guess.
You do you. Hey, yeah, that's That's fair. I know I was gonna be on his side for a minute, and I was like, I guess teenage boys do like jerk off, so maybe they could all just like jerk off in a circle.
Well, circle jerk. That's what that's called, right?
That's what they do at that age. So I guess like maybe he was kind of close, but I don't think they fully had to have sex though.
Yeah, because they have sex in the sewers, right? To like find their way out.
Yeah, which is not even, and none of them have gotten a Gardasil shot yet.
Gardasil didn't exist when that book was written.
Do you think Bella's had her Gardasil shot?
No, absolutely not. Bella gives.
You don't think she wants to be one less?
Bella gives Republican vibes. I'm sorry, she does.
Okay, so if Bella and Edward were human couple, what kind of couple do you think they would be?
Oh,
gun
my
owners?
God.
Gun owners for sure. Maybe?
I think no, because Edward doesn't really strike me as a gun owner. I feel like they're the couple that would like they're very much couple that falls in love with high school and they go to college together and then they realize how fundamentally different they are. And then like I feel like if and this is a scenario where Edward is human, I feel like Edward is going to realize like that Bella is extremely attached to him and that he's just not that into her, because I honestly towards the end of the book series I was like, I don't think Edward likes Bella that much. I think he's in love with her. I don't think he likes her.
I think he was obsessed with the chase, and then he caught her, and he was like, "What do I do?"
And then he was like, "We don't have to do this. Like, we're good.
We're actually fine. Like, you don't have to be this obsessed."
When he suddenly backpedaled and was like, "We don't have to get married. Like, if you don't want to, I changed my mind." And like, she was like, "No, we're good."
That is really funny because, I mean, the whole book series, she is self-conscious about it. And he does kind of come across as like someone who likes you as a person and doesn't want to hurt your feelings. He's doing the nice thing, but then I guess he's just married to you the rest of his life.
I mean, and like, think about it. Like, Jacob's a bigger character in the fourth book than Edward is.
Yeah, he really is. He has his own whole POV.
Like, Jacob has a closer relationship with Bella's daughter than Edward, the father of her baby. I don't think we really see Edward holding Renesmee at all.
Oh my God, you're so right. Because the only scene where he actually bonds with the child is when he can like hear her thoughts for the first time. And he's like, she loves you so much. She also loves me a lot.
Yeah. And he's like,
great.
He's almost like, look, I gave you this baby so I don't have to spend as much time with you.
That's the only reason he let her keep it.
Yeah, he was like, well, I guess this will kind of, if I have to spend forever with her, might as well give her something to, distract her for a little bit. Or that's Bella's iPad.
I do love there is some 2000s lore of like blondes versus brunettes too, because Bella has this whole ruse with Rosalie going on because Rosalie's like, he denied me a blonde. Can you believe it?
Yeah, I would have loved to have more depth between the Rosalie and Edward relationship. I so badly would have loved if they had like tried to date for like 100 years, That would have been so fun. Like, and they were like, oh, we broke up or it didn't work out or she was more into me than I was into her. Yeah. That would have been so fun.
And then they just decide it doesn't work out. You know what's so crazy? I can hear everything in these headphones, sidebar, and a car just revved its engine outside, and I thought someone was shooting a gun at me.
Vroom, vroom.
Vroom, vroom. If you were to become a vampire and you had to die in a crazy way to get there, what would your way be?
Oh, what would I pick? So I'm trying to die so that nobody will ever see me. I get hang gliding.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. What about you?
I want to get shot out of a canyon, but it has to be at a street festival in front of a ton of children.
Out of a canyon or out of a cannon?
What's the difference? Aren't they the same thing?
Well, a canyon, Maggie's like the Grand Canyon. Like it's like a landmark that's made.
I've really been on one. This week I asked my roommates if they were still going to Cape Cood. I said, you still going to Cape Cood this weekend? Cape Cood.
That's so funny. No, I've had one today. I ended up in a meeting today saying the word conflict and duplicate together. I was going to do it again. I said conflict and I didn't mean to do that. And it was very embarrassing for me.
God, if Edward could hear into our mind, he'd be like, why do they share one brain cell? Why are they?
If Edward listened to my brain, I feel like half the time it go like this. Blah, 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 blah.
My brain is always playing the Cotton Eye Joe theme song. This song.
I think Edward would be exhausted listening to how fast my thoughts move in my brain. He would be so tired. He would need to go sleep for 1,000 years. And that's saying something because vampires don't have to sleep.
That's true. I can perfectly imagine it. It's like me at the Collins house, and after about 10 minutes, Edward goes, "Oh my fucking God, can you just finish a thought?"
Yeah,
Please,
actually.
I'm begging you.
Yeah. He's like, can you stay on one train of thought before shifting to the next one so fast? And he's addicted to Excedrin because I'm constantly giving him migraines.
Yeah, he doesn't need that baby to give him a headache. He needs 2 adult babies.
He just needs to listen to my brain just kind of wear itself out for 1,000,000 years.
Exactly.
Wow. That's so funny. Wow. Twilight.
I know. I'm trying to think of other things that I want to discuss. I'm sure there's so much that I want to discuss.
I will say, for the first book being called Twilight, most of it happened during the day. That was weird to me.
I feel like Breaking Dawn might be the closest that they got, because that's kind of morning time,
Yeah. Even again, yeah. I mean, I get it was edgy and cool, but I'm just like, if it's a vampire book, make them hang out at nighttime. That's a vampire thing.
Yeah, have them hanging out. Make them fly. Why don't they become bats?
I really just wish the vampires in this series were a little bit cooler, I would have loved if they hated garlic or something. Just something fun.
They don't have capes. They have khaki pants.
Let them turn into bats. That would be cool.
Exactly.
But like the fact that they just like sparkle and are like fast and then get some weird like magic power, they just don't feel like real vampires,
It is kind of wild that it's like Stephanie Meyer had this whole new take on vampires, which was sparkling in the sun, and there was so much pushback and so much hatred, not only from the women who read the book, because we have been just horribly internalized sexism, but also men who were like, that's gay shit, the vampires sparkle, that it does kind of prove that you should always make whatever art you want to make, because I mean, sometimes cringe shit is good. Cringe is a concept.
And that also goes back to another point I made early on, I think in Twilight, where great, if we don't want to go like this like very like serious kind of, horror romance way, make it a comedy, because there is so much in these series that is actually very, very funny, but it's not supposed to be. Like,
are you kidding? If you put Bella in a slapstick comedy,
like, she falls all the time.
She'd kill it.
That's hilarious. She's slipping on banana peels left and right.
Jacob, he's got the brooding teen that you kind of play with.
Yeah.
He's got one-liners that I'm sure would knock him dead.
Exactly. Look at all his chapter titles. Those were hilarious.
All right, Jacob does stand-up, Bella does clowning, and Edward does improv.
Yeah, that's perfect. Zip, zap, zop.
Zip, zap, zop.
That's the new name of the series. It's Zip, zap, zop.
Okay, so Laura and I are writing a Twilight book, but that's all. That's what they do. And we we follow it from Edward's point of view.
Zop.
We open on Zip, zap, zop.
And whenever they're stressed out, they play Zip, zap, zop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that for them.
I really do love that for them too. I mean, all right. I think it's time.
I know. I don't really know what else I have to say.
I think it's time. Meggie, who is the canceled character of the entire series?
That's tricky. That's a tricky one. Oh geez.
Oh geez. Oh dear.
Oh geez. God, and there's just so many people in this series. Like, my gut says Jacob because of the imprinting thing, but I could go so many ways. I could go Renee for seemingly abandoning Bella. She doesn't show up to come visit her ever because of her husband.
He plays baseball, Meggie. I mean, it's a big deal.
I could say Rosalie because she doesn't even try. I'm sorry, your brother is finally happy and found the love of his life, and you're not even gonna try?
Well, that's because she's in love with her brother, Meggie.
Honestly, I'm gonna go with Rosalie. I didn't like her growing up, and I think that would give me justice as a child if I said I don't like Rosalie.
It's weird that I wanted more of Rosalie because I felt like she would have been a really fun character to dislike, but we don't see enough of her for me to like, I think, form a full opinion, you know?
No, yeah. And you don't spend enough time with her to develop the empathy from her
Exactly.
backstory that you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More Rosalie. I think I need to cancel Jacob. I really can't get past the imprinting thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll cancel, Jacob and was it Quill or was it Embry?
Oh, I think it was Quill.
Yeah, Jacob and Quill, they're the brothers I'm canceling because the imprinting thing and the fact that they're gonna go on little double dates with their little baby girlfriends is horrible to me.
Like, I've seen a documentary where someone was like, "Oh, I am a child predator," because actually there was a brain aneurysm that made them think that way, and then I don't know how it was resolved, but it seems like it's a problem that you could see a doctor about.
Yeah. Or just like,
Go to therapy.
Yeah, or and worse, go to jail. Think about that. Because it's illegal.
Here. Doctor, therapy, jail.
Get it fixed, jail.
All right.
Those are the options. You get it fixed or you go to jail.
I mean, I'll concede. Yeah, I'll concede,
That's
obviously.
Fair. That's fair.
And then the other one is Redemption 4 character?
Our Justice 4 character who got done too dirty this book series.
God, honestly, I feel like I have to know so much more about Edward.
Really? You're going to say justice for Edward?
But Daddy, Maggie. I love him.
Oh my God. I was going to say Charlie.
Oh, fuck. I forgot about it. Oh God. Okay, your answers make so much more sense. I'm just trying to be contrarian for fun. Charlie, yeah.
I mean, like, Charlie gets done so dirty. And then he also has a weird character change in like the third book where he's suddenly like, I'm a strict dad now. And it's like, this isn't him.
I mean, to be fair, he thinks his daughter just tried to kill herself. I would also be like, all right, you're staying in.
That's fair, I guess. But yeah, I feel like Charlie just wants to like have love in his life. And he's so happy that his daughter's staying with him. And what does she do? Is just kills herself to be with a vampire.
Ignores him all the time. And then she tries to justify it by being like, he's watching baseball on the TV. He doesn't even want to hang out with me. He's playing it cool.
Yeah, he has to work all day, Bella. What are you doing? Watching Romeo and Juliet for the millionth time?
Exactly.
You guys could have learned from each other is all I'm saying.
You really could have. But I guess the daughter is destined to fall on the sword of the father. That's a quote from my brain.
Hell yeah. Well,
it doesn't even make sense.
No, I'm going to put it on a t-shirt. I'm going to get tattooed on my chest and my lower back.
Trying to get Shakespeare over here right now.
Everywhere you're looking at me, you can see that tattoo.
Exactly.
Well, hell yeah. We did it, Maggie. We read Twilight. How do you feel rereading Twilight as an adult?
I mean, I loved it. I think it was really fun. Okay, I didn't love, and I don't think I loved the third one as much or the fourth one as a kid, but I felt a sense of duty. The fourth one actually was pretty fun. The first half is. I think the first is a classic. I honestly think it's like a classic romance. I think that it was popular for a reason. I think it gave us purity, and I also think it toted the line of sexuality that parents could, I mean, seemingly approve of in a way that it's like they don't really know what's going on. And yeah, I don't know. I love Twilight a lot. Rereading it was so much fun. I think the build in the first was incredible and a great time. And I'm really excited that we got to revisit it because I know they're big books. Big
mean, I will say, very fun series for me to talk about. I know a lot of it's negative, but it's kind of fun to shit on for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's a lot of points where it can be hate. It does feel like it could be a smarter version of itself. But I do appreciate it for what it is, and I do think that it really is a page turner.
Interesting. Well, yeah, then I guess.
Do you like it? Did I change your opinion?
Yeah, it didn't. And here's the thing. I went in with an open mind. I didn't like the first book when I read it when I was in 8th grade in 2008. And I went in with an open mind. And my opinion didn't change. I I didn't love it, you know? I got through it. It was hard to get through at times. I didn't feel the page turnerness of it. I felt oh God, there's still 300 pages left. That's how I felt a lot in this book series. Especially in Eclipse, definitely, and especially in the latter half of Breaking Dawn, where I was like, oh my God, this is almost 800 pages.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I think I understand why this book has so much popularity, and I won't like downplay that this is like a very cultural phenomenon.
Mm-hmm.
But I will also say that I don't think this book is written very well. I think it has a lot of fun things for people who do kind of want more of a polite romance. But I just do think parts of this book were developed a little bit more, whether it be in the characters, in the plot, in the prose. Mm-hmm. I think this entire series would have just like hit a lot harder and even been more regarded highly than it already is, you know?
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
And that's that. That's the tea.
That's the tea.
That's the tea with Meggie and Laura.
There we go.
All right. Well, that was season 13. We did it.
And we're, for our next book, going to kind of actually stay in the romance genre a little bit. We kind of want to park here. And I think that's great because I physically cannot experience a crush right now, so I need to read other people having crushes.
Yeah, we are really going in because we're doing like back-to-back romancy time, not just with Twilight. We're doing back-to-back romancy time with our next one-off and our next full season.
It is. And I mean, if you guys are kind of curious about what the heck are they talking about, what book are they doing next, we'll let you know right now.
What a build-up.
It is. We are going to be doing Red, White, and Royal Blue. Have you seen this? I haven't seen the series.
It's a movie.
Oh, it's a movie.
I watched, I think, half of it like one Saturday afternoon, and then I went off to do something, and then I completely forgot to finish it. But it's a cute little boy romance. Two boys that fall in love, and one's like the son of the president, and one's the son of like the Queen of England. How fun.
I love that. It has two boys that I love. The one guy from the Harry Styles movie and the other guy from this one trans love story. That's all you're going to get. Those are the only details. You piece it together.
These two actors that I love. The one guy from the Harry Styles movie.
I can't give you their name nor the name of the movies they were in.
That's so good. And then should we also talk about our like following season and get crazy with that?
Yeah.
Season 14. Because we're also staying in the romance world, and we're actually staying in England. Speaking of Red, White, and Royal Blue, we're really just train carring it up. We're gonna read the My Lady Jane trilogy. Maggie and I have both watched My Lady Jane series on Amazon Prime. We loved it, and now we're gonna read the books.
And that's how the cookie crumbles.
And that's it today for our wrap up with Twilight. You can follow us on TikTok and Twitter. I've been tweeting sometimes, and now that I'm unemployed, I'll probably I'll just shoot them off all day. I have so many drafts in there. I really need to go in and start firing them off.
Tweet one right now as I'm plugging us.
Okay. Do you want me? You start plugging. I'm gonna pull up a tweet and I'll read it live before I tweet it.
Okay, perfect. As a surprise. So on Twitter and TikTok, we're Yaoi Reddit. On Instagram, we're Meggie_and_Laura. And if you want to strike up a sponsorship deal with us or put our podcast on a network, you can actually email us at meggieandlaurapresent@gmail.com. Send us some fan mail. Send us some love letters. Did you pull up the tweet? I keep stalling.
No. I got the tweet. I will be tweeting this right now. The tweet is, the new tier of hot girl is enjoying Garfield comics.
Send tweet.
Post it. The post was sent. So you're welcome for having that drafted for us, Meggie.
Thank God, because I don't even know if I have ideas.
Good, I have more. I have so many more. Some are just kind of half thoughts that I go, I'll think of the rest later.
Just send them all off.
I post them all in one go.
So yeah, follow us for Laura's half thoughts. I can't wait to see what happens. And we will see you on our next episode for Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Way! Love you guys. Bye!